Run, party, repeat. Welcome to the East Coast Adventures Dirt and Vert podcast, where we talk all things running, racing, and training to help you get ready for your next big adventure.
Learn from our successes and our failures, and have fun at the same time. Join us right here every week with inspiring guests who share their captivating tales from the trails. And remember, nobody cares.
Run faster. Welcome back. This is East Coast Adventures with the Dirt and Vert podcast. I'm David.
And I'm Matt.
And we have a guest today with us who is just fresh back from Hard Rock, as you can tell by the hat. And Tara Dower. So Tara started out as a thru-hiker. She got into ultra running and she has set multiple FKTs. She is currently still an FKT holder. I believe she holds 3 FKTs. But what's interesting about Tara, too, is that when she started running ultras, she's been pretty successful from the very beginning. So she's definitely a very talented runner. And Tara, if you don't care, tell us a little bit about who you are and how you got into running.
Yeah, I'm Tara, as we've already established, and I'm just somebody who enjoys nature and adventure and trails. And how I got into running, I won't give you the whole story, but I played soccer in middle school. Well, pretty much my entire childhood I played soccer, and they put me in midfield. And, there's a lot of running in midfield. You're back and forth, defense, offense, defense. So I've developed some endurance, I think, from that, and then did the mile in middle school, and then graduated to cross country, the 5K in high school, and then played rugby in college. Didn't even do anything with running, just played rugby. And then I think that helped with like mental toughness in ultras, though. I think that added a little spice in the ultra world for me. And then from there I hiked the Mountains of Sea Trail. Well, okay, sorry, let me back up. I thru-hiked the Appalachian Trail and was like, I love trails. I love the culture. I love the community, especially on the East Coast. And I made a vow to like spend as much time as possible on trails. And then I wanted to do the Mountain Sea Trail just as a regular thru hike, just as like a backpacking trip and a backpacking adventure, really. And I went out. Well, I was working for Jennifer Farr Davis and was incredibly inspired by her. She currently holds the FKT for the Appalachian Trail for women's overall. And I was working for her at the time as a backpacking guide and was inspired by her. And simultaneously, 2020 had just happened. So we all know what happened there. I don't need to go into details, but I thought like, okay, I don't feel right about just doing a regular thru hike this year. I think I would like to like create this quarantine crew and we all travel down the trail together, but they were supporting me during this FKT. We developed it into like an FKT. They're the crew. And I did the Mountains of Sea Trail FKT. And after I beat the record, the overall record, who was Diane Van Duren held the record before me. And she is a 100-mile athlete. I don't know if she runs anymore, but she is a really good 100-mile athlete that ran for North Face. And I thought like, okay, so like if I can do this thing that she did, I could surely do a 100-mile race. And I'm like a challenge person. I'm always challenging myself. I always have something on the horizon. So I thought like, all right, I'm going to make a 100-mile race, ultra marathon, like my next goal. And so a year after that, I did my first 100-miler in Troy, North Carolina, the Uwharrie 100. And I fell in love with ultras. I was like, this is so cool. This is such a neat experience. And that's how I got into running. Yeah, a very short little story. But after that first 100, I mean, so much has happened since then. There's a lot of history there. And I think that was like, what was it, like 3 years ago that I did my first 100? Yeah. Or, yeah, three? Yeah.
Yep, 2021.
Yeah.
Which you were, first place female.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's pretty impressive. Just to like go straight into that, and it looks like you did do a 40K and a 50 miler, and then did your 100. But Was there any issues that you had to work through, like transitioning from through hiking and the running you were doing to 100 miler? Did you run into like the stomach issues or the cramping or anything like that, or did everything just go pretty smooth?
No, I like had this idea that ultra marathons were hard and they weren't easy and it was always going to be difficult. And there was definitely gonna, I mean, yeah, that is true. Like, you're always gonna have some issues, but like the way I pictured it was like a lot more doom and gloom. So when I did have those issues, I was like, this is fine. And so, like, where I had it the worst was during that 50 miler in LA County in July, full exposure. It got up to 100, no shade, and I had like some sort of heat issue going on, like serious issues. And I was like, oh, this is fine. This is ultras. All of this stuff that's occurring in my body right now, all of the things that are coming out of it, this is fine. This is normal. And I finished. I think I got second in that one, but definitely had a lot of it's kind of a common thread with like throwing up and like stomach issues through all of my ultras. But yeah, just like working up to that 100, that's just an example of, not quite going perfectly to plan.
Well, Matt is definitely good at throwing up in ultras. That's like that's his thing.
I slap myself and then I go back to running.
Yeah, he's the only person I know that slaps himself to stop puking too. But.
Oh yeah.
Wow, does it work? I guess I got to try that.
It works. Because you're like, I'm gonna knock myself out. I gotta quit throwing up.
At some point, I'm gonna get it on video. Everybody keeps asking me, and I can't seem to ever get it.
No, I won't use those ginger chews anymore. I'll just slap myself. That seems like a lot more lightweight than bringing extra fuel. Okay,
the
good.
nauseum things work too when you're at the aid station and you can actually take those. If you're out on the trail and you have nothing, a good slap in the face.
I feel like that's merch. You guys got to make that into merch. But then put in little text, I do not condone, I do not recommend this, so you don't get sued. I slapped myself in a race and I kept throwing up.
That's true, yeah.
I'm just going to wait till he's doing it one day and we'll be like the Forrest Gump. I'm just going to hand you a t-shirt.
What you can do is get a picture of me doing it, and then we'll put it on a t-shirt. Use the silhouette of it, we'll put it on the shirt.
So funny story, like one of the first races I crewed Matt at, I'm there with his wife and I'm sitting beside her and it's at night and we're crewing him and another runner, Mike. And Mike had been puking earlier or later. Matt was puking early. But what was funny is like when Matt was puking, he was just sitting in the chair and just puking. And Mike was like laying on the grass, just sprawled out. And like people were like, "Are you okay, Mike?" I was like, "He's good. He's praying. Leave him alone." And then Matt sits down and starts puking again. And this time, like, I'm just like looking around. You don't want to watch people while they're puking. I'm not. So I'm just looking around. And all of a sudden I hear like this loud, like someone smacked their hands together. And I turn around and look and he's going, and his wife just starts laughing. And I'm like, what just happened? She said, oh, that's his thing. He slaps himself when he starts puking. And then he slaps himself again. And I just turn around and look at her and we both just start dying. And I'm like, I've never seen anybody do this before in my life.
That's a first for me too. I've never seen that. Never in my life.
Oh, it works. I've done it ever since I was little. Like if you were sick or something, you're throwing up, I would slap myself to make myself quit.
Oh,
because like you got to quit doing this. This is ridiculous. And
I'm like you, Tara. I'm gonna stick with the ginger shoes.
Well, those work too. The nauseam does work. Those do work.
So I've just got to ask you, you go and do your very first 100-miler and it's in North Carolina. And those other two races you were talking about, and especially the one that was in July, was in California. So yeah, that was hot. But then you do Blood Rock 100, which I'm very familiar with. I bet that was a little bit of a learning curve in that race.
Yeah.
Everything that it throws at you.
I was still kind of in that mindset of like, this is gonna hurt really bad, and it always does, but it's gotten better over the years, but this is gonna be so hard. And I just put my head down and do it. Definitely learned a lot though as far as like nutrition goes. So my friend, you guys probably know Hunter Lenninger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he was there at the race and he ended up just being like a transplant crew for me. And he like he was what was it? Oh, I ran up to the aid station. I was like, "Hunter, like I can't eat. Like I'm really uncomfortable." And he was like, "What are you eating?" I'm like Cheez-Its and Gushers and like all these snack foods. And he's like, "Yeah, Tara, like that makes sense. You're like super bloated right now." So he ended up giving me some, what did he give me? He gave me like some sports nutrition. But yeah, I learned a little lesson there on like what you should be eating. Like maybe it's not like the quantity or like yeah, the quantity, but it's like the quality of the foods and like how
Yeah.
easy it is for your body to like absorb it. Cause I was just eating a bunch of like sugar and candy and like a bunch of salty pretzels and Cheez-Its, which I still kind of like on trail. But like the sugar just really, really did me in.
Oh, yeah.
That was a
Yeah.
lesson I learned out there.
That was a lesson I learned in a backyard ultra. So too much sugar and your stomach just goes crazy. So,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
so right there with you. I was doing spoonfuls of maple syrup.
Oh.
How
Yep.
long did that last?
Hours. Hours.
Oh,
But finally it didn't. I was still eating other food with it. Like I would eat an avocado or a roll up, but every lap they would, and I was just crashing. They were trying to keep me going.
yeah, the maple syrup like packets. Do you know what I'm talking about? I love the Vermont maple
Yes,
syrup things.
those are so good, but you cannot
Yeah.
take them for very long. Like that's the
Mm-mm.
problem. Is
Yeah.
Untapped? Is that what it's called?
Yeah,
Untapped.
Untapped. Yeah.
I used to love those things, and now I can't. I did them so much. I can't do them. But yeah, Blood Rock is. I mean, that's just it's just a hard course. Like I got to give David.
Mentally, physically.
Yeah, I give David Tosh credit. Like he designed a course that's just it's really hard, and he's got something that's pretty cool there. And I was glad to see like he got rid of it and was not going to do the 100 anymore. And then I guess enough people reached out now that as long as he gets enough, like I think he said he's got it set to where he's got the registration open. If they get at least like 50 or 60 something runners, then they're going to do it every year. And I think that's cool. And I think they're doing it. So, but I think it's just a really cool race because there's not, I mean, in the East, there's just not a lot of races with that much elevation. There's a few. So,
and that rugged of trail too. It's like real rugged.
Yeah, you can't even, I mean, that's the thing is like, that's what makes it so hard is you're running it, even though it's in the winter, 100% of the leaves are still there. It's like they're froze to the ground and they're on top of the rocks. And like, trying to run is just absolutely a shit show.
Yeah.
I fell all over that course.
You know, that point where you get up, it's like you're about 7 miles to the end of a loop. I mean, he changes it like we said, like very often, but I think we did it like it was similar because you did it a year after me. But you know, that part where you're like 7 miles, you're about to drop down to the like start finish. And it's that ridge line after you like climb up and it's that rocky, it's just, your ankles go all over the place, your feet, like it's unrunnable.
I ran straight into a tree on the last. You know, because like you're right, and it was dark, and I was coming down through there, and I was wanting to be done, and what's really interesting is he releases the 55K runners that morning.
Yeah,
Sunday morning. So they're like, you know, I'm passing these guys, and I'm like, where'd they all come from? And they're like, are you doing the 55K? I'm like, no, I'm doing the 100 mile. They're like, and you're passing us. I'm like, I want to run. And then literally I go down this hill and I trip over a rock and I chest plant a tree, like not my face. I'm like right. And it like rips my shirt and I'm like, and I just lay on the ground for a minute and I'm like, this race. And you know, at the time I'm like, this race sucks so bad.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so hard.
He goes into this race and he doesn't read the description.
I'm that
so
dude.
He knows nothing about this.
Wow.
We get a text message. We haven't heard from him for hours. And we're like, he'll be done in like 24 hours. But we finally get a thing and it was like, I'm not going to be home for a while. Somebody get my daughter. So and then we heard nothing from him for like, until he finishes. And
Wow.
then we finally get a text, and it's like at 30 hours or something, he finally finishes.
Well, let's be real. Like, if you sign up for a 100-miler, you're thinking you're going to be done in 20 to 24 hours. Like that's usually what I'm thinking. And I didn't read the description, so that's my fault. If I would have read rope climb, waterfall climb, power line climb,
Power line climb.
Yeah, I laughed at that one when I
Yeah.
get to it. I'm like, oh god. But yeah, literally, I do the first loop. I know there's 3 loops. I do the first loop, and it's 10 hours, something like that, almost 10 hours. And I just call them, and I'm like, I'm going to be here a while. Someone needs to pick my daughter up. That was rough.
Yeah, it's a killer course.
Like we were talking about earlier, that box has been checked.
We feel completed on that one.
That is a really cool belt buckle, though. It's one of my faves.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it is a really neat buck. You're so right. It's so cool.
Yes, it is.
And then, did you get the prize where he gave you a bottle of wine? Yeah. I still have it. I haven't opened it up yet.
Oh no, I drank every bit of it, but I still have the bottle. Yeah, it's really cool. If you podium, he gives you like a bottle where you can like write your time and everything on there. Yeah.
He brought it in. He was like, "Look what I won! Look at this!" I'm like, "Okay, cool."
That's kind of cool because it even says Blood Rock on there. Yeah, I thought that was a cool little touch. Like,
oh yeah, I love that. Like less T-shirts. I have so many T-shirts, more bottles of wine and other beverages.
Yeah, I think I made it like 2 days, and I'm like, you know what? I earned this. Fill the glass up. So, let's jump forward just a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about some of your other races, and you've obviously done really well at a bunch of the races. Like Blood Rock, extremely tough race. Super Bowl Trail Championship. That's interesting. Like, I don't really know much about that.
I got a free race entry for that one. And I was like, at that point, like my trail career, I was like doing everything on a budget. Like if it was like big budget time. So like I got a free race entry. I was like, I'm going to go up to Ohio and run this race. Of course.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then you do a really hard race again. You do Umstead and Cruel Jewel back to back. You really like these mountain races, don't you?
I do. I love them.
How would you compare those two?
Completely different in all ways. One's really fast. Really struggled at Umstead. Really had a hard time at Umstead. But it's a looped course. Umstead's looped and it's fast, and you see your crew just that one time every loop. So for that year I did it was 12 miles. So you saw them every 12 miles, but it's pretty quick. So you're not like away from your crew for very long. And then Cruel Jewel still holds the place as the hardest race I've ever done in, my whole career. I think that's like relative to where I was at in my career as like a trail runner. I think if I had done, Hard Rock and Cruel Jewel at the same time, like where I am right now in life, I think, probably Hard Rock would be the harder race. But just looking back at where I was and what I was learning back there still during Cruel Jewel, I would say that's like difficult because still it's 33,000 feet of gain. It's on just super technical trail. I don't care what anyone says. The East Coast is so much more technical than the West. Like no doubt. I've done a lot of things in the West. It's so much more technical. It is it's not like super hot or anything, so that's not like really an issue, but they just like they're just like mean. The race directors are great. I love them, but they're mean. They definitely did not have to add, like, it's 106 miles, but they added this 3-mile out and back down this entire mountain and then all the way back up the mountain. They literally had no reason to do that. No reason. And they did it.
We did that too.
What did it add? What, 5,000, 6,000 foot?
Oh my gosh. What is wrong with them?
But I will say, like, the difference between our course and Cruel Jewel, though, is like Cruel Jewel is very technical. Like, it's not a real runnable trail. It's truly not.
No.
And you did it in, was that 28 hours?
Yeah.
I mean, and that's a great time because just like Blood Rock and the other ones, like those are courses that it's very hard to truly just run. And if you do run, more than likely you're going to hurt yourself if you're not careful. Um,
So true.
it's truly a lot of hiking, and you got to be a really good hiker to be able to do that. And
Yeah.
that makes so much sense with you being a thru hiker of why you did so well at those races. I mean, you've probably perfected over the years your thru hiking. And what all have you thru hiked, by the way?
Yeah, so through hiking, if we're just talking about like through hiking, I do have a goal every year to do a over 200 plus mile trail every year. But I've done the Appalachian Trail and I've done the John Muir Trail, but I've done FKTs, so I've done the trail, but I haven't done it through hiking. I've done the Ben McKay Trail, and I've done the Colorado Trail and the Mountains of Sea Trail. Those were FKTs. So 2 through hikes and 3 through hike FKTs, I guess you could say.
Do you really do you have like a comparison of how you feel about FKTs and races, or do you kind of treat them the same?
I take a little bit from both and I kind of implement, like, especially in 100-mile races for the FKTs, I do implement some things in there and then like vice versa. But they're kind of completely different. I do like have this like ghost of a person that's like either behind or ahead of me that I'm trying to like catch. But I would say like FKTs is really where what I enjoy the most. It's a very solitary experience. It's I don't know, it's just
You can lose yourself out there for
yeah, you
sure.
can. That's a great way to put it. Yeah, it's very peaceful, but at the same time you're still like racing, right? You're still like racing, but it's just a different experience than actual races. I feel sometimes a little overwhelmed during races. A lot of happiness, a lot of excitement during races, but especially coming from the East Coast, racing majority in the East Coast and going to the West and racing, it can be overwhelming sometimes. There's live streams, there's a lot of people. Aid stations are a lot more busy than the the tent and the couple people that are at this little booth on the East Coast. Which I love. I love both of them. They're both fun experiences. I don't have any complaints with them. I just think it's maybe a little more overwhelming on the West. And then especially with FKTs, you don't have any of that. You have your crew if you're doing like a supported, but self-support is completely different. That's way different. Yeah.
So, did you do the Benton McKay FKT before you did Crow, or did you do that after?
That was after. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That was after.
Did you have any experience at all on the Benton Trail, or did you?
Yeah, the year prior, I tried to go for the FKT and got a overuse injury. That was a rough year. That was also like I convinced. That's why it's so important to get a crew that you like trust, is because they know you and they know how to like calm any like fears you might have during that time. I had a crew I trusted, but I don't think I like I think I made the decision when I should have let them made the decision. But I was like freaking out at the time because, I got this overuse injury. It was really painful to walk. Even walk was super painful. But there was also that boyfriend of that woman who he killed her in like on a van life trip. And he was in Florida. Like it was around that same time, and people were like online before I got in the FKT or before I started. They were like on Facebook, on these groups saying like, "Oh, like somebody spotted him in the Smokies," and I was like, "I'm about to be in the Smokies," so I like let that scare me, and I was like, "Oh, I also have like an overuse injury," so I just was like, "I'm gonna call it," which I should have just. It's so important during FKTs to have that crew that can make those decisions because your brain is. I mean, you guys know with 100-mile races, like it's just not working at full capacity.
No.
So you have to trust those people that you put in those positions to like get you to the end.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you're like most of us, we're stubborn and
Yeah.
we don't want to quit. And
I'm fine.
we've all been there. I had a really tough year in 2023, just from all the races I did at the end of 2022.
Mhm.
So didn't really have an overuse injury, but I ended up straining a bunch of stuff. I went into rhabdo in January in a race, wouldn't quit until like 12 hours in, was still leading the race when I quit.
Gosh.
Go straight to the hospital. They give me IVs, and like I was in renal failure. So yes, to your point, like you don't make great decisions, and you can be as tough as you want to be, but sometimes you're also just as stupid as you are as tough, and
Oh
that's the
yeah.
thing. It's like it's a fine line, and to have a crew or a person there that you can rely on to say, because what you also don't want is that friend that's like, you do whatever you want, it's fine. If you don't want to run,
No.
we ain't gonna run. Because that's the
No.
last person I want on my crew. Like, you stay
Yeah.
away.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Like,
Um,
you ran far enough.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
I did not.
You have nothing to prove.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm not here to prove anything, but I'm not going to quit, and like, so I love that you say that. It is. I would imagine it's extremely important in an FKT because, FKTs can be anything from a 50K to 500 miles, 1,000 miles, whatever, and that's a lot of time. Not even time on the trail, but the time that you've spent training, the money you have spent to invest in this FKT. Because say what you want, you go run rabbit, you can go run Cruel Jewel 100, but you're going to spend 10 times that amount on a long FKT. And your mind is like, I've brought all these people out here, I've spent all this time, I am not going to quit. That's not always the right choice. So to have someone there that can be that person to be like, no, it's time, you've went too far. You definitely need that. And that's probably a good thing that you did do that, or you would probably have been so injured at that point that it would have stopped all your training for a long time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
During the John Muir Trail, was there a fire? I think that I heard that before, that there's a
Oh
fire.
yeah. So I had to complete it in 2 years. Well, I guess it was kind of a calendar year because the thing for through hikes is that you have to complete it within a calendar year. So like from the date you started. I think that was a calendar year. But yeah, there was a fire the first year we tried, and we got off at Bishop Pass. So that was like, what was that? That was like half-ish way through, I think. Maybe a little less than that or a little more. And then we came back and completed it. It's just so beautiful out there. It's incredible that we live in a country that you can get like, the East Coast mountains, which I think are just so beautiful in their own way. And then you can go to California and get completely different mountains. And then Colorado, like San Juans, there's so many different types of mountains in the San Juans, just in that little area. I just think it's so incredible that we live in such a cool country in that way.
Yeah, and so different, like you said. Like if you come to Tennessee and you're standing on a mountain, you can see like sometimes 100 feet because there's so many trees, and then you go out west and you can see for miles, and you're
Oh
like,
yeah.
I ran a race at Zion, and I would see an aid station. I'd be like, oh, I'll be there. Yeah, 38 miles later, I'm there, and it's like, it sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
a
It's
big
so far.
Well, so. What was your goal going in to set that FKT? Because that's what, a little over 200 miles.
281, I think.
Yeah, 281.
Yeah, somewhere around there. Goal was to get the overall record.
Which you did.
Yeah.
It still stands today, correct?
Yeah. I'm pretty proud of that one. It was really when I felt like FKTs really clicked for me. Like that specific one where I finally got the overall record, I felt like I really understood. And that's the point at where I thought I could keep going. I feel good and I really think I could keep going. And that's where the idea of doing the Appalachian Trail came from. I was like, I don't feel great, but I definitely could keep going. And I could enjoy it fully. So that's where that idea came from. And here we are in 2024.
So when are you starting yours?
I'm starting in mid-August. Yeah.
You going
It,
Nobo or Sobo?
Sobo.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Get the hard stuff with first.
That's definitely the hard
Get it
stuff
done
first.
with. Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh, the cold.
No, again. So when I first found you, we put on the race that a lot of it's on the Benton Mackay Trail.
Mhm.
So I'm on YouTube looking like people doing the Benton Mackay Trail, and then you popped up, and your FKT hit, and you had all your little video series, and like it's in our backyard, and because we live like 20 minutes, 30 minutes from all kinds of access points to the Mackay
Mhm.
Trail, and that's where we put our race on at. So
Mm.
I'm looking like there's not very many videos anywhere of anybody on the Benton Mackay Trail except yours. And like every time you posted a video, I'm following along. Like, oh, she's here. Oh, there she's at Thunder Rock Campground. I was just there doing a race, last year. Oh, she was at Reliance Web Store. That's where our race started. So it was like cool to follow along with that, and then seeing I think you had your crew, and then the guy, your buddy, wrecked his car.
Oh yeah, he almost fell off a mountain. And
Mm.
my friend Flipper, I met him on the Appalachian Trail, and he came out to help. He lives in Atlanta, and he was driving down to this cruise spot, and he was swerving around this rock on this Forest Service road, and he the ground gave out, and he almost toppled
wow.
over. And
Oh,
then
my
the
God.
only thing that kept him in was his suspension dug, because it's a pretty low clearance vehicle.
Yeah.
But yeah, his suspension dug into the ground, and that was the only thing
Wow.
keeping him from falling.
Where was that at? Because that was in what, Tellico?
Yeah, that was after. Yeah, I can't remember the exact area. I can't remember that campground that he was headed towards. But it was after Unicoi.
After Unicoi Gap would have been
Down. You go down, 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 and then you hit this campground, and then you keep climbing up.
Well, it depends on which way she was going. Could have been Coker Creek.
you were going to Smokies, right?
No, I was headed for Springer. I was going whatever.
Okay.
Sobo. Is that Sobo?
Oh yeah. So
It
she
could have
was
been-
then it was Coker
It
Creek
could have been
campground.
Coker Creek campsite.
Because you got where you just went through the next. It's pretty rugged in there too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Oh,
and
yeah.
not a lot of people are down there. There's not a lot of access. It's a hard place to get to.
No.
If you go to Coker Creek campsite where it came through, it is awful to get through too.
Mhm.
That's where we had our aid station, and we pretty much sent them on a mission of nobody's coming for you. You're not getting anything extra, and you're by yourself.
Yeah, we made sure that aid station was stocked
Yeah,
up.
we stocked
Oh
out.
yeah.
So did you see any crazy animals or anything while you were doing the FKT out there?
Yeah, I saw a bear in the Smokies, obviously. You're obviously going to see a bear there. What else did I see? Oh, I saw armadillos.
Oh yeah, they're
You
getting
guys-
popular around here.
They're getting
Yeah.
popular over here. Yeah.
Walt, who we were talking about earlier, it's so funny when you have a conversation with Walt, especially in Ball State. This man knows it's insane what he knows. I think he literally is like half Wikipedia. But I was like, I had never seen so many armadillos in my life till we went and ran Ball State. And he's like, oh yeah, they're moving down here because they're chasing the fire ants.
What?
Yeah, so that's what they're doing. And then he's like, do you notice? And they're dead everywhere on the road. And he's like, well, that's because they can't see really well, but they can jump extremely high. So when a car runs, like when a car comes under them, they jump up into the chassis and kill themselves. And I'm like,
I've heard that.
I just turn around and look at Walt, and I'm like, dude, how do you know all this stuff? He's like, I just do.
Message.
I've heard that too with the whole jumping up and getting hit. I think that's sad, but kind of hilarious.
Exactly. Yeah. So I didn't realize there were armadillos out on that trail, though. I haven't seen any out there.
Terry texted us during the race, and she said, "I see there's been a coyote and an armadillo come through."
Oh wow!
I've never saw an armadillo.
So no
over here.
No coyotes or anything like that, or
no, I don't remember a coyote. Yeah, just the armadillo and the bear. Plenty of weather. Plenty of terrible weather. But
any wild hogs?
No. Oh, no. But I have seen them in the Smokies. I have seen them. No. Oh my gosh. Yeah. There were. Sorry, there were hogs, but I didn't actually like get a good look at them. It was going near Cherry Log. And I just heard it was very quiet. It was very eerie, and I was like, I felt weird, and it felt like something was watching me. But then all of a sudden, I heard this like big stampede down the mountain.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
They are
So I knew it was.
loud. They are
Yeah.
so
they're
loud.
loud.
And I got a little freaked out after that because the sun was setting, and I was like, "Oh, I'm all by myself."
Yeah, so I think it was Friday we were trying to set up for that race, and I just go run like the part of the gravel road up there, and I come running down, and this is on the other side of like Buckbald and Wacheesy. So we're on the old Furnace Road, but I'm coming down this road, and Bobcat runs out right in front of me,
A
and
bobcat.
just kind of looks at me, and I'm like, well, that's cool. And then he just runs off into the woods. But I was like, that's awesome. Like, how often you see a bobcat?
Oh
But at
yeah,
first, I was kind of shocked at myself that I didn't freak out, but it jumped out in front of me. I'm like, that's a bobcat. At
that's a
first, I
big
thought it
old
was like
bobcat.
a dog or something. I was like, oh, well, that's so. I gotta ask. Like, that's gotta be like a little nerve wracking and like anxious to be in certain parts where you're just like, like, because it is so remote in some of these areas.
Oh
Like,
my
did that
gosh,
bother
yeah.
you any?
No, like, yeah. I mean, there was times where I felt like a little on edge. I had just gone onto this like part of the online sphere where they talked about skinwalkers. So I was thinking about skinwalkers at that time too. So I'm sure I probably should. That was a bad idea for me to get onto that side of the internet. But yeah, like I feel pretty comfortable. I feel pretty comfortable on those kinds of trails. Um, but this might be a little too deep, but I think about like I think anyone thinks about their death, and I think I like if I was to die, I would probably want it to be out there, not to go right to death, but like that's where I would want to go, is doing something I loved. And I would hate to die in a car accident. Like, I'm gonna knock on wood right now because I hope that never happens. I hope I don't die in a car accident. I hope I, pass, feeding an animal would be great. Like a bear, he's a little hungry. He sees me, thinks I look good. That's a compliment if he eats me. So, I mean, yeah, definitely my parents and my my family probably wouldn't be happy, but I don't know, kind of neat.
I've kind of always just assumed, and I kind of almost just checked the box this past weekend as we're out there marking this course. But I've always just figured, like, I've survived all the other stuff. I'm gonna die from a spider bite. That's what I'm waiting on. Like, they're just like the Benton Mackay Trail. Like,
they're everywhere.
it's
Oh,
just
and
It's an
then because
infestation.
nobody uses it too all the
No.
time. So you got to get the stick, in
Oh,
certain
yeah.
areas it's super remote.
we had a lady finish the race this weekend, and she said, why do you all have spiders the size of turtles?
Are those the gardener spiders?
They're everywhere.
Oh, they're huge. They're ginormous.
When
And
I
they
was
look so scary.
I know.
I was marking the John Muir Trail on the Benton Mackay,
Mm.
and it was like I was eating them. My whole face, my beard became their home. That's where they just started living.
Ew.
So it was constantly. I'm like, there's nobody using these trails ever, except for us over the weekend.
Yeah, I would love to see more people on the Benton Mackay Trail. It's just so beautiful, and I think if people want to do like a through hike of the Appalachian Trail, I think there's like a lot of people that start out and they realize like, oh, this isn't for me. I think like the Benton Mackay Trail is like a perfect trail to do
Yes,
to
it
get
is.
like that fix in,
Yeah.
because you don't have as many people. You can even use that as a alternate route, so you skip all those crowds too.
Yep.
Yeah, and you've got that right here in East Tennessee, and then right across the state line in Georgia, you got the Pinhoti Trail.
Mhm. Yep.
So those are two great trails to do a small or FKT or a mini through hike. Like, that would be
Mhm.
perfect to learn.
Even after the race, like a lot of the participants were like, I've never been on this Benton Mackay Trail. I've never been to this area. Why haven't we been here? I'm like, because it's not known. Nobody knows this. Like the Benton MacKay Trail is known for through a few people or a small group. The AT is like huge. Everybody knows the AT,
Oh
and
my
everybody
gosh.
knows the
Yeah.
Smokies.
Yeah.
So now these people are like, well, I'm coming back here. I'm going to come over here and just explore this area and do this. So hopefully, the Tennessee side of the Benton MacKay Trail starts getting used more, because I think Georgia gets used a lot for Cruel Jewel and some of the
Yeah.
Sean Bland's
Yeah.
races and stuff like that. But now the Tennessee side is going to be utilized more, hopefully.
Yeah, that you make a good point that Georgia side gets used a lot more. Still not
Yeah.
as much as it should, but yeah, those sections you were talking about. I mean, Smokies gets used pretty
Oh yeah, it
often,
is. The Smokies is like the king of all areas
Oh
around
yeah.
here. Everybody's
Absolutely.
going to the Smokies.
Absolutely. So let's jump back in real quick now that we've talked about your FKT and the Benton MacKay Trail. I want to talk about, so of all of your hundreds so far, year to date, what is kind of like your favorite race, and also which one has been your hardest race? And I think you've kind of already answered the hardest one. You said Cruel Jewel, but you've also just did Hard Rock, so I was curious to see how that compares. But
Yeah,
what is your favorite, most memorable 100-miler?
Yeah. Man, they've all like been memorable for different reasons. It's definitely between Run Rabbit from last year, 2023, and Hard Rock. Hard Rock was just such a special experience. I think like I was hanging around Howie Stern a lot, and he would talk about it. It's like very much like a just a sacred place for him. So just hearing him talk about it made me want to experience, and I think that kind of opened my eyes to like more than just like racing it. Instead, like maybe we should have other goals that go beyond just like a certain time or a position. So I think for that reason, that's why that was so special. But Run Rabbit, I feel like that was just like a perfectly executed race. I had a great crew. It was great pacing, and it's just a great, I've done that race twice. That was the second time I did it. It was just like a really good result, and I was just really proud of myself. I felt super focused and strong. So I would say it was between those two for different reasons.
What is the elevation gain on Run Rabbit? It's quite a bit, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like, I think it's like 24.
Yeah, I thought it was over the 20s. Wow. You did great too. You're first female. What, 20 hours?
Yeah.
And even Hard Rock, your performance there is great. You're fourth female, 33 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
that was a hard one though.
Yeah,
it's
I
a
don't
hard
think we really have
race.
to explain Hard Rock 100. I think everybody knows it's a hard race. But another one you have on here that most people probably haven't heard of, especially in the West, is Hellbender.
Oh yeah,
that's a hard race. I mean,
yeah,
that's a hard race.
Yeah, it is.
You killed it. You did it in 24 hours. First place female.
Yeah.
And then there's one race on here that me and you got to run in together, and that's actually where I first met you. And that's the Ohio Backyard Ultra.
Yep. Chattahoochee.
I did not. So, full disclosure, I hate the cold completely. And if I'd have known that it was going to be that cold that year that we ran that race, I would have never signed up.
Dude, yeah, it was snowing. It was so cold. I remember taking off my pants at one point. And I was like, this was a bad idea. Like my legs were red. So cold.
It snowed, it hailed, it rained. I think at night they said it was 8 degrees with the wind chill. I mean, I remember that at night, like it was just miserable. And by the morning, I had went through all of my changes of clothes. The fire pit wasn't working.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just I'm a terrible sweater. I do great in the heat. I do awful in the winter. And I just remember like that last few laps, I was like, I'm done. And I think at that point, there was maybe 15 or 20 of us left. And I just waved to you guys.
That's such a hard format. It is so difficult. I want to do another one, but that was a hard race. I learned a lot of lessons during that.
Oh yeah. Well, and I'm going back in not this weekend, but next weekend. I'm going to Bob's Big Backyard, or Bob's big timber in Ohio. So that's more my style. It's in the summer. I'll be ready. So I'm excited about that one because I haven't ran a backyard since that one. Have you?
Yeah.
Was that your first backyard?
Yeah.
And so far, that's your last backyard, correct? Like you haven't done nothing?
I need to go back. I need to do another backyard ultra. I need to.
Yeah, you did really well at that one too. I think you had like what 160 or 70 miles.
Yeah, I need to go back because my goal is 200. I should have just kept that. I was thinking about all the people around me. I wasn't thinking about my goal, which is usually where I go wrong when I don't think about my personal performance. So I want to go back and just get 200. I want to do that. I have to.
Well, you definitely can do that, especially after all these FKTs and stuff you've done. I mean,
Yeah.
The only thing that makes the backyard format so difficult is just that you're on someone else's time. You know, like it's that one, and I don't even know if you experienced this, but you know, it's like that one bad lap where you crash. If you don't work through it quick enough, or you can't get out of your own head, you're done. And a lot of people just cannot do that. They, you know, and you see it in 100-miler, like people will walk from one aid station to the next and fix themselves, but you just don't have that luxury. You got maybe 5-10 minutes at the most to fix yourself. And then from there, you're out of luck.
Yeah. 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 It's a big mental game too. I mean, if you don't fix yourself mentally as well, if you don't keep yourself centered and keep it realistic, it gets pretty dark. At least personally. I don't want to speak for everyone, but
no, same. Like, I mean, and that's the thing. It's like you can get in your head in 100-miler. You can get in your head in any race like that, any point-to-point race, and still finish it.
Yeah,
you can't do that in any type of last man standing event. It doesn't matter if it's a real backyard or a 2-mile last man standing. You know, I know there's all kinds of different ones, but you get in your head and it's over.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
that's when you need that good crew member there that will shake you and wake you up and get you back out there.
My crew it was my friend Nick and Brooke. They were great. They're very positive people, but they like kept me going every loop, and then I like started a loop. They said, "Tara, just complete this," and I like walked back, and they said, "Tara, no." They're like, "You're supposed to complete it so we can encourage you to do another one."
You know, when you're done though.
Yeah, I was done. I was done at that point. That was hard. That was so hard.
Well, you did great though. I mean, that weather, it was absolutely terrible. And do you remember this? And I asked someone else this on the podcast, Josh Laker, the one that won.
Oh yeah, Josh. Yeah.
So, you know, we had Josh on the podcast, and Josh actually he came last year and ran the dirt circuit and broke our course record there. He's an awesome guy. But I asked him if he remembered this, and I don't remember if he did or not. I don't think he really remembered it, but Kyle Calvis did. But do you remember in the middle of the night, the guy in chaps, naked, dancing on the side of the road in 8-degree weather?
Do I have a story for you on that front? Oh my gosh. Yes, I do. Because he was like loosely associated with my crew.
No.
So you know Alicia. You know Alicia who was there? Alicia, it's that picture of us like they took, it was like the three of us.
Yeah, you're running side by side.
Yeah, and like Alicia, Alicia was in my tent. Like she let me join in her tent, and then we also had another guy, I forget his name, he's like the youngest guy there. But Alicia had this guy come out. It's that dude, and they told us prior. It was like in the day, so we were all like pretty with it, and like we were having fun. But like she told us before, her and her fiance or now husband told us, they were like, just so you know, there's a guy coming. He comes every year. He comes and helps. He's a great crew member, but he's a little out there, and he has a little bit of a thing for feet. So just letting you know. And so he comes, and he's like, instantly, he's like, you. And he's pointing at me. He's like, you need to take off your shoes, and your feet need work. So he took off my shoes and just went to work. He started massaging, and I was a little creeped out at first, but then he kept going. I was like, actually, I kind of love this. He might have a thing right now. Something might be going on for him, but like I also am receiving something from this, and it's really nice. And he just was rubbing my feet. He would like every time I came through, he was taking off my shoes and just like going in. And then he told us during the night, he was like, I'm going to do something really crazy, so you better watch out. I was like, okay, whatever, dude. Did not expect him to be in the middle of the field, assless chaps.
Yes, assless. That is correct.
Okay,
Assless.
I have a video from that too. Do you think he had anything at all covering his front?
No.
Okay, that's what I told Brooke that. I was like, we slowed the video down.
He also made a ring
Yeah.
of string lights around him.
Yeah.
That was lighting him up.
Yeah.
And he
So you
had
could
no
see it
shirt
all.
on. No shirt on. And assless chaps. Leather chaps, like with nothing else on.
Fully exposed in the front.
So he was out there, and it was funny. I think I was running with Sarah at this time.
Yeah.
We were side by side, and she said something, and I looked over, and I'm like, and everybody just got quiet, like no one said a word. And it was so cold. It was so cold that I forgot to even tell Mary when I got back. So like the next day we're driving back, she's driving us back, and she's like, you didn't really say this, but I heard there was like some naked guy out there dancing on the street. And I'm like, that's right. I was like, I was so miserable that I forgot.
Yeah, the naked guy with a foot fetish dancing on the street. Yep.
Wow,
memorable.
You come out great on that deal, though. I mean, a foot massage after every lap, that's pretty impressive.
Oh my gosh, it was really nice. I'm not gonna lie, it was really nice.
Foot fetish or not, that's awesome.
So we've been talking about this story since after Dirt Circuit last September.
Yep.
And now we have got like
it just keeps growing.
It just like keeps a full circle, like it has grown, and now we know who it's associated with.
Yeah, you got to talk to Alicia next so she can tell you who it actually is and tell more. So my friend Brooke is she is in her master's program for raptors, like birds, like she's in ornithology, and she's like incredibly smart with birds. He like with his full chest was telling her all about birds and like mansplaining like birds for her, and she's like, dude, I'm like, birds is my thing. Birds is my only thing. It's just funny. Like, he's just such a confident. I mean, you have to be confident to do assless chaps. So he's just such a confident dude.
Or to just walk up to some lady and be like, take your shoes off.
Your feet.
I need to rub those right now.
I bet you were kind of like,
hey,
yeah,
you work 170 miles.
Yeah. That's the key. You just got to get someone in your crew that has a little bit of a foot fetish. Not make it weird, just like a little bit.
I don't know. I think it's going to be weird regardless.
It would depend on how
full advantage of that. I was going to say, take full advantage of that. You don't ever have to see them again. Yeah. And, I just remember we were running that race, and, I think I ended up running a lap or two with you guys because I didn't even realize Sarah was there until I ended up like running by at one time, and I seen you both, and I was like, I talked to Sarah for a few minutes, and I think I talked to you for just a second and then kind of kept running around. Because I'm kind of weird in a way. I don't like to, like in backyards, I don't really like to run with anybody.
He's antisocial.
Wow. I mean, that's a good technique.
Yeah, I just don't, like in a race, I don't care. But in a backyard, I just kind of want to be in my peace, like away from everybody. So like if everybody's running slow, I'll run fast. If everybody's running fast, I'll run slow. Like I just want away from everybody so that I'm kind of like doing my thing. Because in a way, this is just like me, but in a way, like at the end of the day, when it gets down to 2 or 3 people, you're by yourself anyway. So if you get used to running with somebody, then that can change your whole mentality if they drop out. And that happened to me in Kentucky in my very first backyard. I ran this whole race with a dude, and he dropped out. And then I was just kind of like, well, this sucks. I got nobody to talk to now. So, ever since then, I've always kind of like, I'm just going to do it by myself. And I've even ran backyards with him, and I will not get around him.
He won't. Like, we did last February. and we took off. We were like side by side, and then he takes off, and then he just goes to the front. And the guys that I was running with, like, isn't he like with you? I'm like, yeah, but he does not talk during the yards. And like, he doesn't. I'm like, no. And then eventually it came down to us three.
Yeah, I was just saying. What's funny is like it's a local last man standing. So, and I won it a few years ago, so everybody knows me. And they're like, they think I have some strategy. Like, why is he running fast? They're asking Matt. Matt's just like, oh, he don't like you. He don't want to. But he's like, you don't want to run with him. There's no strategy.
Does not want to be around anybody.
Believe me, it's not
You included.
I gotta try that for the next backyard I do.
Well, and think about it like this. Like, this is kind of where, me and Chris Stamen think a lot alike on this. And he said it the best one day. Like, this guy broke the Tennessee state record. He ran a 13-hour something at Hennepin in the 100-miler, and he's been doing great. But he literally is the most low-key runner you'll ever meet in your life. He shows up with a bag of Sour Patch Kids. Yep. And like he counts them out as his calories, and like that's what he uses, and he just doesn't. But he doesn't really take drop bags or anything because. And he told me one day when we were running, he's like, "Well, I don't want to take a drop bag because what happens if it doesn't get there?" He's like, "My entire race is ruined. Like that's all I'm going to think about is that my drop bag didn't make it." He's like, "So I want to be self-sufficient." He's like, "I'm going to take what I need. And if I can't carry it, I don't need it." He's like, "Because at the end of the day, if something doesn't show up at mile 50, I don't want it to ruin my race." And I was like, "Man, that is actually pretty smart." I was like, because I can tell you that has happened to me. Like something not being in your drop bag and you just get like, you're like a child at that point. You're like, where'd my goose go? So I agree with that, and that's kind of like I get it.
He even said at the fort last year, he didn't bring a chair because he didn't want to sit down.
Oh,
he said, "I'm not bringing a chair because I'm not sitting down."
During a backyard?
No, it's a loop race.
This was a loop 25.
He put on a loop race, and he broke the record last year of 109.5 miles in like 22 hours because he quit early. Yeah. But he said, "I'm not bringing a chair because I don't want to sit down ever."
Wow.
So it's kind of cool. Like everybody has like different strategies and different things. And it's kind of cool because we're all different. It's like none of us will like the same pair of shoes, like it's just general, like, and none of us have the same thoughts and concepts when we're trying to do a race. Like some people love to do like a backyard ultra and be the social butterfly and like just be right in the middle of the pack. And I'm not that guy. I am in races, but like in a backyard, I'm that guy that's like, just, I'm just going to run and be here because like, I don't want anything to change. Like, I just want to be me.
Yeah.
But I like to talk to everybody.
I do too. I love talking to people.
So it makes you forget about the loop.
It does, yeah.
What's going to happen now is me and her is going to run a backyard together, and she's going to be awkward. She's going to be up beside me and be like, "Don't talk to him.
David doesn't
don't talk. This guy away from me."
How you feeling?
I'm not talking to you. Got to go.
So I see that your next race, and this probably isn't like your next race. You may have one before this, but I see that you have Javelina on here. And that just reminds me that I want to hear this cactus story.
It's really not that cool. Everyone thinks it's a cool story, and maybe I should make up a cooler story.
Picture look good.
Yeah, the picture.
Oh yeah.
And there's like, I think it's the finish line. She's like this
sitting there.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean the story was, it's Javelina. It's notoriously hot. So like from pretty much after the second loop, I just so there's like 5 loops, but the second loop I just couldn't keep anything down. Just throwing up again, but like it was different. It felt way harder because like even when I was drinking or eating, it felt like rocks in my stomach. Like it was jostling all around. It was like really uncomfortable to run. And I just kept throwing up. I couldn't keep anything down. It's the same story, but I just kept going. On the third loop, I threw up a lot at the aid station before the third loop, and then started, and just was like not feeling myself. It was the hottest. The third loop is the hottest time of the day. almost the hottest time of the day. It's just like hot all the time. But yeah, I started getting like a little loopy and just was like not completely there, not completely present in the heat. And it really doesn't take that much, but I like just the cholla, the cactus I ran into lines the trail. It's not like right there, but like it is. I mean, you could like walk into it, and that's what happened. I just like walked right off trail, right into the cactus, just like, a moment where I wasn't fully cognizant. I just like walked right into it. And it's not like I ran into it or hugged it. I just brushed up against it and it just attached to me. It just
Mm.
like was in me. And, you would try to get it out and then it would attach to like this hand. It was just like, it was like so sticky and painful. It was like not sticky. It was like, it was sticky, but it was like in you. It was like thorns in you. And yeah, so I had to walk 2 miles to the next aid station. I had to get them to remove the cactus. And then after that, I was like, that's where the picture was taken with Howie. And then after that, I like started running. I started like sprinting. I felt so good. I had just take like a long break, like an hour break from walking, and then like 20 minutes at the aid station getting the cactus out of me. So I like was feeling so good and tried to eat a little bit as I'm like running, and again it just hits me like the rocks in the stomach and I'm just like so uncomfortable. I'm just throwing up. I can't stop. And I get to the aid station, like the full loop. There's like aid stations in the loop, but then there's like the main crew one, like the base camp area. So I got through there and I was just like, I was telling my crew, I was like, I can't go on. And they're like, we're going to start the fourth loop. Started the fourth loop and it's just like nothing was working. It was so uncomfortable. And I just was like, I'm going to call it here. And that's my first and only DNF.
Well, we all get them, so don't worry about that.
Yeah. I hope there's never another one. I didn't regret the DNF. It was just really uncomfortable, but that's why I'm going back.
Did they do a live feed of that race, or was it
Yeah.
just the Instagram post? Because I remember watching it, and because I was trying to keep up with you, and then that came up with you got the cacti in your thing. I'm like, oh god,
What's interesting or what's funny is we had a guy that we had on the podcast, and we know him real well. He runs one of the local run shops, but he ran it last year. Ethan Coffey, and this dude was an amazing marathoner, and he actually even held the 50K national record. Back in the day, he ran it in less than 3 hours.
It's fast. I don't know how.
Yeah, so he's extremely fast. But him and his wife are coming back to run it, or him and his girlfriend are coming back to run it this year. Julia Connor and Ethan Coffey. So if you see him out there, you gotta say hi. Like you recognize Ethan. He's got the mustache. He's real tall and
real skinny.
But they'll be out there. And what's so funny is that he is terrible at heat.
Awful.
Oh.
But he still continues to do these things. Like he did Badwater last year, and he went all the way to the wire, like 44 hours and something, or whatever the cutoff was, just walking, trying to finish. But he sucks in the heat. But if you put him in like the winter, I mean, he'll run like a marathon. He'll do a 2:18, 2:19, whatever it was. Like, he's just extremely fast for like the marathon 50K distance. Yeah. And if he ran
no business.
Was it Black Canyon?
Yeah, he did Black Canyon.
And he'd done a really good job at that 100K last year, but he picks all these warm races because he's retired. That's what he says. He's like, I'm retired. I'm just doing races for fun now. So he's going out to do Javelina, and he sucks in the heat. So you'll see him out there, but like he'll be the guy that's walking during the day and running at night. It's so funny. But I hope that the cactus does not attack you again this year.
Yeah, me too. Well, yeah, this will be I think this will just be fun for me to do because that's going to be after the Appalachian Trail. I don't know how fit I'll be, but hoping to just finish. That's a goal.
Wow. So that's after the AT?
Yeah, right after, a month after.
Well, that's not going to go well. I had a learning lesson last year. We did Ball State, And, it's only 300 miles on the road. It's not anything like the AT. But then I did a race like 2 weeks after that.
Far after you.
Terry, it was the worst thing ever. Somehow I still managed to like win.
Yeah.
But I don't know how. Like, it was awful. I literally only ran 6 hours. It was a 6-hour race. And I sat down for 3 hours after the race. Like, that's how bad I was. Like, it was just awful.
He kept saying, he goes, I shouldn't have ran this race. I shouldn't have ran this race.
No. So I say that so that you like don't. I hope you're like going into Javelina just thinking I'm going to have fun.
I have an open mind. I have an open mind for sure.
Because I didn't. I was like, oh, I'm going to come back and I'm going to crush it.
On this Appalachian Trail FKT, do you have like an idea when you'll be around the Smokies, or do you have a goal?
Yeah, at that point, I don't know. Like, it could be anywhere from like September 20th to like September 15th. That's real rough, but
okay.
Yeah, around there.
Because that'd be cool, like if we kind of knew like when you were coming through.
Yeah.
We don't live
to support you.
We live like not far at all.
I gotta send out my tracking information.
We do not live far at all from Fontana Dam.
No.
Oh yeah.
We live very close.
So when you get to that location, we could come run some with you or do whatever.
That's what I was thinking. Like,
I would love that.
We were planning on running with Sarah, and that was our goal. Me and Mary was going to try to go meet her and run some, and we would, we can all try to come support you too. It'd be fun.
Yeah, that would be so cool. I would love that.
Yep.
Especially there towards the end.
Yeah, it's the home stretch at that point.
Yes. In the good rugged mountains over here.
Oh yeah, the hardest part.
It's interesting, like just the change. We were talking about it earlier, like just from the east and the west, but literally just the AT, the change in terrain and weather. It's insane. You go from the coldest to the most humid shit that you could possibly run through, and when you get into like Tennessee and Georgia, like it is so humid that like nothing stays dry. It's awful.
Yeah, you're right. So you've done the Bent Mackay and you've already thru-hiked the AT.
Mm-hmm.
How comparable are those two?
The AT and the Bent Mackay?
Yes. Because I've heard from multiple people, like, if you want a quick, short version of the AT, go to the Bent Mackay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's why I think people should do that first. Because people go out on the AT, they have these big goals of thru hiking, and then they get out, and it's like, oh, this is huge, and I don't know if I want to do this. A good way to figure out if you want to do it, I think, is by doing like a smaller thru hike, like the Bent Mackay Trail. It's a great tester into, those first 200 some miles are so difficult. If you want to do something different, I think that's a great trail to do. And it's also like a solitary experience. It's not like you're out there for the people. You're like out there and you're discovering like your motivations for being there, because it's like there's not a lot of distractions. You're pretty much by yourself.
Yeah.
The AT is like you're hiking from pretty much from what town to town.
Mm-hmm.
And the Bent Mackay, you're hiking from a trailhead to a trailhead because there's no towns, there's no shelters, there's nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's sections of the AT though that's that long.
Okay.
But the difference with the AT though is there's one section that is nothing but rock. There is no running. You are just climbing and bouldering the
Pennsylvania.
Yes, it's Rocksylvania is what it is. Like there's no way you can run that,
Yeah.
And that's like, I would imagine when you get to that area, it's just like, okay, this is gonna suck. We just got to do it, and like there's nothing you can do about it.
And the thing about it, everyone's done it who's done FKTs or done thru hikes. They've done it, so like it's possible. You just got to do it. That's all it is.
Yeah, most of the FKTs I've either seen or read about on the AT, they talk about that area and how most people either end up with an injury right there or they hurt themselves really bad because it is absolutely terrible, Matt. I don't know if you've seen any of that, but like it is not.
A few photos of like I think Harvey did that section where there's nothing but rocks.
Yeah, I mean you're literally like climbing and hiking and just there's no running at all in that section. Like you cannot make up time. Like to try to get 50 miles a day it's everything you can do and hope you get some sleep.
So what is your goal? How many miles a day are you planning to do?
Yeah, I mean the daily mileage, obviously it won't be like this every day, like depending on the conditions or the terrain, it's going to be different, but 53 is what I'm going for.
Oh yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
How many days would that put you at total?
Just under like 41. I'm hoping to get 40 days, but that would take like 50. All I'm trying to do is beat the record by, a minute. That's all you need to do.
All you have to do.
Yeah. So, but I would love to get 40 days, which would mean probably like 54 miles a day.
That's insane.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see when we're halfway through if I can like turn it on a little more and get that 40 days.
Yeah. So definitely like once you hit the Smokies, we really need to track that.
So yeah. I'll send you all the tracking.
Are you going to have a tracker?
Yeah.
Sweet. Yes, please send that to us. Yeah. And we can even share that out if you want us to. We don't have to, but we could share it.
If you know any like local trail runners like that you trust, send that
our
to
whole
them.
Group.
Yeah, we know Luke Boschwaller is very good on the Scar.
Yeah, he actually had the FKT on the Scar.
Oh, cool.
To the Smokies. Yeah. He is an awesome runner.
There's a documentary about him. It was on Amazon. I don't know where it's at now. I can send it to you, but it's called Ultraman. He sent me the link. I think they took it off there, but it talks about everything he prepared for. Vimeo.
Yeah,
I think it's on Vimeo.
Vimeo.
But yeah, he I think he did it in like the Scar in like 13 hours.
Oh wow, yeah, that's a hard portion. That's so hard.
Yeah. But we also live here, so he went and trained there a lot. So
and then Leah Mulligan. Now she just got married. She's from Chattanooga.
Mm-hmm.
She just set the FKT on the Scar.
Oh, cool.
She's great. She's a good runner.
Yeah.
Just recently?
Yeah.
Yeah, within the last 2 months.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, neat. Like this year, for sure.
Yeah, her and her, I think her husband, Michael Bussolini, is the cross-country track coach for Tennessee and Wesleyan University.
But what's really cool, though, is we have a group on that's kind of like a private group for us out of East Coast Adventures. It's called Dirt and Vert, and it's all local runners and people in the community. And a lot of these guys are in that group. And we'll just share your tracker in there. Because most of them, I mean, just like this past weekend, one of the guys that was running our race, he works for the Cherokee National Forest. Like he works for the Park Service, and like he is one of the people out there. So like he knows all the trails out there, and that's just really cool. Like he would probably want to come run with you too. And we could share that. And when you get closer to the Tennessee area over here, I would imagine we could get you quite a few runners to help.
I'm sure we get somebody.
I know Luke and him would probably come out, and then there's one guy that literally has ran all of the Smokies around Tennessee and all that. I think he has an FKT. It's 400 something miles, I think. But Jeff Woody, he's an amazing like mountain runner out there, and he knows all those trails so well. But he's also friends with Luke Boschwaller, who's the guy that set the FKT on the Scar years ago. But I mean, we could probably get some people out there to run with you that know all those trails, and just hang out and keep your spirits up.
Yep. Yeah, I would love that. That would be awesome. So close to the end, if I get there. Knock on wood.
Yeah. Well, we'll be following along. We hope you do. We're rooting for you.
Yeah. Thanks, y'all.
And that's an aggressive goal, and I love that. Like you gotta have a goal. And even the thing about it is, like, even if you fall behind 2,000 miles, like it doesn't matter. You can make some of that up in other areas. So it's going to be kind of like up, down, and I've seen a lot of people go out there, even on other FKTs, and they get behind and they just quit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's to me it's like a backyard ultra. Like, fix yourself and see if you can come back alive, because like you can always turn stuff around and fix it. And
well, like you're not always going to feel great. Like, I mean, as much as you're high, like you're also going to be low too.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's inevitable. So, I mean, just having like realistic expectations. I mean, like I definitely think there's some people out there that this applies to. I think like Christian Morgan, I think not so much, like he has so much experience on the Appalachian Trail. I think he just like knows like what's going to happen. I know what he knows his body so well. He knows the trail. So I think like he's an exception, but like most people who go out there for those FKTs, it's like you're exactly right. Just keep going, and like you're going to have highs, you're going to have lows, and you could probably make it up. Maybe you won't, but you never know if you don't try.
And that's the thing is like, it's when you have that really big low, that's when people quit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But damn it, you're going to have another high at some point. Like, don't forget that, you know, and that's what everybody seems to forget. Like we're in this big race and they have a high and they have a low, they have a high, and then they just crash.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be another high. Like you
Mm-hmm.
just got to work through it. Don't give up. And you know, and you probably of all people know this all too well, especially like doing the FKTs, the Benton High. Like there is one day your ice cream's going to be too cold. Your water's just going to taste terrible. And there's nothing you're ever going to do that's going to be right. But you know what? You survive that day, and then somehow shit starts getting better. You know, like you just got to figure out how to work through that one day. And we just can't ever see past that.
Well, a lot of those sections, you could have a really bad time and it's nothing but climbing. And you're like, I can't climb no more. Well, the next day it could be nothing but runnable, great sections that you make up all the time you lost.
Mm-hmm.
But if you quit the day before, you're like, I didn't even reach the spot where I could have made up every bit of the time I lost.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've been there. Like, I'm sure there's been one day, like in some of these events, or even a couple of hours, where you're the whiniest person ever. Like, there's nothing that is ever going to be right. You know, we all get there, and it's okay. But that's when you need that one crew member or that one person at an aid station to be like, listen, you're fine. Just sit down and eat some food. Like, you're okay. You know, and
try it out.
Yeah. Go take a 15-minute nap. You're probably going to feel like a new person.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I pretty much suffered through the Mountains to Sea Trail in every way you can imagine. So I think I've seen a lot on that trail. And obviously it's not the same level of the Appalachian Trail, but I definitely know how to suffer and keep going. I wanted to quit so much, and my crew would not let me. They were not letting me quit it. They were like, we're doing this. I don't care what you say. You're going to continue.
Do you try to keep the same crew?
Yeah, I know who works in certain like races. I know who works with races. I know who works with FKTs. I know like what I'm motivated by. So like Rascal, my friend Rascal, who I met on the Appalachian Trail, and my mom are great motivators. So I really wanted them on the crew for this year, and luckily they are going to be we're together, all three of us. We are the Chump Change crew. CCC.
I love it.
Rascal came up with that name in 2020 during the MST, so we're keeping it for this.
That's awesome. I love that.
What's the lady's name that ran with you through the Benton Mackay? And I think y'all both started the Colorado Trail.
The lady that ran with me on the Benton Mackay?
Yeah. She did some sections with you. She was like your crew, and she hiked during some storms and stuff like that. And then I think y'all did the same FKT at the Colorado Trail, and then she dropped out.
Oh yeah, Liz. Why I don't know how I forgot about that. Yeah, Liz. Yeah, she has the Appalachian Trail women supported northbound record. She's done it too.
Wow.
She's gonna come out as well. She's great. Love Liz.
Sounds like you have a pretty good crew and support. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I got some great people on my side. I'm really looking forward to it.
And so what day are you starting again? Tell me.
I'm not putting it out there. I'll tell you guys off the air, but I'm not putting out the official date.
What month are you starting?
August. Yeah, August. We'll just say mid-August.
Perfect.
But I'll message you guys, or I'll tell you after we get off.
Yeah, and what I would like to do is like after we get done, just share your stuff, and then when you officially start, we can share it on our group, and
Oh
that way
yeah.
people can start following it and track you, and
Yeah, I love
hopefully,
that.
like, we'll get some people out there to run with you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that'll be awesome.
Mhm. I might eventually, who knows, I might like lose all my like reasons why and just like throw it up there that I'm starting soon. We'll see.
Don't. If you've made it this far, do not do that. Like, you're
You're
this
listing them.
close. Like, stick with your plan and do what you're gonna do. Because, I mean, hell, you're like a week away from August, so
Yeah.
you made
Oh
it this
yeah,
far. Don't do it.
so close.
Yeah. Um. Well, Tara, I think what we'll do here in just a minute is we'll start some questions. But the one last question I have, and Matt may have a few more before we start the actual listener questions. But of all of your races, which ones kind of like to you mean the most as far as like in your entire running career? Like, what do you feel like has helped you progress? Like, what do you think has helped you get to that point to where you feel like confident, and you kind of have moved up into more of the elite level now as far as your running goes? But which race do you think really gave you that confidence to get there?
Yeah, Run Rabbit for sure in 2023. Well, Courtney went blind for the last bit, but
I
and she did
remember
it.
reading that. Yes.
Yeah, so but I did beat her time, but that was also blind Courtney. So I mean that's you just have to add that in there, a little asterisk. But I got the second or the third fastest time on that course, and I was really confident. I was after the Colorado Trail. It was like a month and a half after the Colorado Trail, so I had just done 500 miles on the FKT, and it was like my body hurt really bad and I was really exhausted, and I didn't know if I could pull it together for the race, and I was going into it totally open-minded, like we'll see what happens. I did not expect for it to go that well. So I think that race really gave me a lot of confidence. Plus it's a beautiful course, and it's always nice to go back to a course that you've already done and nail it.
Are you going to go back?
I think I would go back. I would go back a third time.
Yeah, I was gonna say with a race like that, it's kind of hard not to, and it's that that memorable to you and means that
Yeah.
much to you. Like,
Yeah.
that's cool. That's awesome. I love that for you, and that's kind of like I'm sure that boosted your confidence a lot, because that's it's not an easy race, and that's a really big race.
Yeah.
That's that's the difference. Is like when you go out and run you run a local 100-miler, and there's 50 people in it and you win it. That's a little different than running a big race with 300-400 people or however many may be in it, and competing like with Courtney. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a big race. They have the tortoises and the hares, and each those separate those separate races, they start at different times. So like at first you're with a lot of hares, but then like about up to Fish Creek, you're getting near a lot of tortoises, and you're around them pretty much through like halfway, and then there's a point where it's just like no one.
Oh, I got you. So
Yeah.
I didn't
It
realize
gets
they did. I didn't realize. I guess I've seen that they do the tortoise and hare, but I didn't realize that the tortoises got an early start. That's
uh-huh.
interesting.
Yeah, they get more time to do the course. They get pacers, and they're not running for the cash prize, which is pretty
Gotcha.
lucrative.
I've seen that it said tortoise and hare on certain ones, but I didn't realize that's what that was. That's cool.
Yeah.
All right. So let me, I'm going to start you off with the very first question that we ask every listener, and then we'll turn it over to Matt.
That's good.
And that is, why do you run? Like, when everything's so hard, you're running by a guy in assless chaps and it's 8 degrees outside. What keeps you going? Like, really, why do you continue to do this and push yourself? And, it's going to get extremely hard on that AT trail. Why do you do it?
I mean, it goes back to like how I introduce myself. I think I just really enjoy being on trails and nature, and um even on the courses that aren't quite, immersed in nature, I still feel like this purpose when I'm running. It's like what I was meant to do. And it feels right. Not a lot of things in my life have felt like perfect, and this feels perfect. So I think I'll keep doing it until it doesn't feel perfect.
I love it. Well, let's be honest. No one's life is perfect.
So
we,
true.
we all have plenty of demons and issues, so none of us is perfect. But no, and I love that answer because some of the reason a lot of us get hooked on this sport is because it does give us a safe space with our thoughts, and to be out there with other people that you know to say it the best way, I guess, is like at that starting line, you don't know what he's been through, what you've been through. I mean, you're standing beside people that are going through divorces, people that have lost their jobs, people that have lost their kids, anything. And to them, that weekend is like the most important thing right now because it gives them a break to get away from life and to enjoy themselves and to be in peace. And that's the thing that has always drawn me to the sport, is getting to see the people that never thought they could do these things. And it just takes one thing to happen in your life to push you into this community, and then you kind of get hooked. And unfortunately, sometimes it's a really bad thing that happens in your life that pushes you into this. But that's also sometimes fate. And it's not something you want to take lightly, because sometimes that's unfortunate, but at the same time, you meet this community of people that are so open and so welcome. And, like, that's the thing that I love the most about this entire sport and this community, is we're all so open and we're also welcoming to help anybody, whether you're the first runner or the last runner. You're there with them, and you're going to help them, and you're going to support them. And I just absolutely love watching that.
Yeah. I love
Sorry,
that.
I'm on a soapbox, but go ahead, Matt.
All right, we got a few listener questions, and then I have some questions for myself. How do you rate the Umstead 100, and would you recommend the race?
How would I rate it? I would rate it 9 because it's a great race. The race directors, Chris and Rhonda, they love the community so much, and they are very wholesome people. It's the volunteers are all really excited to be there, which it's just everyone's stoked for you. They'll do whatever they need to do to help you. It's also a great course for like beginners. I think that a lot of people can complete their first 100 miler there comfortably. And would I recommend it? Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. 100%.
All right, this one is 2 questions. How long did it take you to get into Hard Rock?
It took me two years. But Dale picked me as he has 6 picks. So he picked me as one of the people that would do it, that would like bypass the lottery. And very thankful for that. Very thankful for that opportunity. So 2
That's
years.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I was a lot of imposter syndrome when I was picked, because I know people have been applying. There's a lady or a guy, I think it was 15 years it took him, or 13 years it took him to get in. So when I got picked, I was like, a lot of imposter syndrome, like, oh, do I belong here? But yeah, I'm very thankful for the opportunity, and I did not. I experienced the entire trail, and I'm very happy with that race.
Well, congratulations
Yes,
too.
definitely.
Like you had a great performance. Like that's awesome.
Thanks.
What specific training did you do for that type of elevation?
Oh.
You moved there for like 3 months.
Yeah, I think the most important thing that I did was I did a 50K on pretty much on the course. So it was majority on the course, but I went up 3 14ers twice. So I did an outback. So I did the 3 14ers. I did 5 14ers. Okay, let me explain this. So I did from like I went up Handies and went down. So Handies is 14,000 feet. Then I went down to Burroughs, where Burroughs aid station would be, and then I went up to I think it's Red Cloud or Sunshine. But I went to Red Cloud, which is another 14er, and then went a little bit down, then up Sunshine, and then all the way back. So I did, I guess Red Cloud again, and then I did Handies again. And that was a really good, I mean, I was exhausted, and it really got my body used to like that altitude, being at altitude for that long, and eating foods, even though eating food wasn't that easy after all in Hard Rock. But like specific training, I just climbed a lot. I didn't really have like a certain amount of elevation I was trying to get. But I think that was the most important thing I could have done, was that training, that 50K hike that was about, or 50K run that was about, was it 2.5 weeks before the race? Yeah.
That's some serious elevation.
That's a lot of climbing.
Yeah. It was 13,000 feet. I think it came out to be 50K. It was a lot. It was exhausted.
I'm guessing you started tapering right after that.
Yeah. Yeah.
How many trails have you thru hiked?
I think we already talked about this, but it was Appalachian Trail and John Muir Trail, but then I've done the Bet McKay and Mountains of Sea Trail and the Colorado Trail.
And what has been your favorite trail?
Appalachian Trail, without a doubt.
Did you have a trail name?
Candy Mama.
Is that okay? I was curious of how the Instagram handle came about, because like I've wondered that. I'm messaging Tara this morning or last night, and I'm just sitting here thinking, I'm like, I got to remember to ask her, like, how did you end up with the name Candy Mama?
So is there a story behind Candy Mama?
Yeah, well, it's not as cool
with her
as
getting
it
a
sounds.
foot rub.
Yeah, I just ate a lot of candy and I mommed everyone out there, which was kind of really annoying. I hate that I did that, but like always checking if anyone like needed more food, or if people were drinking enough, or if people like had Lyme's disease. Let's check if you have Lyme's disease. But with the candy, it's kind of funny because I ate so much candy, I would like go to sleep. I wouldn't brush my teeth after eating all these Airheads. And then I get back to the dentist. I'm pretty cavity prone as it is, but I didn't expect to have this many cavities. I had 6 cavities at the end of the thru hike. So it was a new record for me.
I remember when I first like truly got into ultra running. It's funny you said that. I started getting into these backyard ultras, and I was doing like a race every month, like 100-miler or something every month.
Yeah.
And like I went 6 months and went back to the dentist, and he's like, "What have you done?" And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "You have like 4 cavities." I'm like, I mean, I have ate a lot of candy. So it's funny you say that, because like the same thing happened to me. Like it was like 6 months went by, and he's like, "What have you done?" I was like, "Well, I've been running like for days and like eating nothing but sugar and goos." So right there with you.
Yeah. I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Would you rather race or do a thru hike?
It's a good question.
Oh no, I can't.
After the AT.
Oh my gosh. If it was just like, I mean, I do this for a living now. I race for a living. So like and I love it, but I'd probably thru hike. If I'm going to be honest, I'd probably thru hike for the rest of my life if I had to choose one. Knock on wood. Hopefully I'd never have to stop racing though.
Yeah, right. Do both.
Yeah.
How did it feel when you finally got sponsored by Ultra?
Oh, it felt amazing, because I remember when I'm pretty goal oriented, as I've already mentioned, and I remember because I wore ultras on my thru hike. I wore ultras a lot, and I remember going on their website when I was just getting into running, and I remember looking at their elite athlete list and saying to myself, like, I want to be there eventually. Like, I don't know how long it's going to take, but I want to be one of their athletes. And now to go that page and see my face on there, it's so I don't even know how to put it into words. It's like I made that happen. Obviously with the help of a lot of people, and Ultra believed in me too, and I showed a lot of interest, but it's surreal. It's it's a lot to process. This is my first year as an athlete with them, and they're incredibly supportive. I'm very thankful. I would say thankful.
Yeah, well, and I mean, you're starting off on a very good year with them as well,
Yeah.
so I'm
Yeah.
sure they're happy.
Yeah.
I think I remember in your Benton McCall FKT, I think you even made a little joke in there like Ultra sponsor me in one of your videos. And now like seeing it like now, because that was like last year whenever I actually found your videos, and now seeing that you are a sponsored athlete from that. So it's like all that hard work, is paid off.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really thankful for that opportunity.
What kind of hydration do you use?
I use First Endurance, and I use their EFS Pro, and that has a lot of carbs and a lot of calories per serving.
Well, that is the first time I've heard of this.
It's called what?
So
Yeah.
tell me what this is.
Yeah, it's First Endurance. They're mostly known for a lot of bikers use them. But like it's the same thing. Like bikers or runners can use it. They just kind of adhere more to bikers. But yeah, so it's just like it's a high carb mix. That EFS Pro I use. They also have like a lower carb mix. And they also have some liquid shots. They have 2 flavors, the Kona Mocha and the Wild Berry or Mixed Berry. I forget which one it is. But it's simple. It's easy to consume. I like the EFS Pro because it's like they have really easily consumable flavors like lemon water. It's like not so overpowering, and it goes down really easily.
Yeah, I like the stuff that's not super sweet.
Yeah. Not
I
a
can
fan.
handle it. I can handle it for a short run or race, but I cannot handle it for like 100-miler. I have to have
Yeah.
stuff that's not sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
That is the first I've heard of this
Yeah,
company.
I know back in the day, like
So
I got hooked on for a while. I was using the science and sports stuff, and it's kind of the same way. It's made more for cyclists because it was like a super high carb mix. But I used it for some of my I used it in the very first time I did mid state. But now I've gotten hooked on Goo Roctane,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
and it's like
Roctane's good too.
the Summit tea. Like it's not sweet. I can drink that stuff all day. Like
that
it's
was-
perfect for me.
that wasn't too bad. I don't like tea, but when I tried the Summit tea, I'm like, this isn't bad.
Did you smack yourself?
I don't think I threw up using Summit tea, so because that was kind of like during a training.
I have to give that stuff a shot though. I love the Goo Roctane just because it's like 250 calories in a serving, and I eat so many calories. Like in the Yeti 50, I ate in that 6 hours that I ran that. I ate over 1,000 calories. No, I had 350 calories every hour. I'm sorry, 350 calories every hour for the whole time that I ran. And some hours I had over 400 calories.
Wow,
Because
that's a lot.
I was also taking the Martin's high carb,
Yep,
which is
Martin's.
160 calories.
Yeah.
I was doing that with the Goo Roctane 250.
Oh wow,
But
wow.
it doesn't get me sick. I burn that many calories. I was getting
That's
mixed up with the
incredible.
marathon. I used 1,000 calories in that marathon, 3 hours.
Wow.
So I'll have to try your stuff then. If it's high carb, high calorie, I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah.
I'm always experimenting.
Yeah, we are.
Can't help. You got to try it out.
What type of packs do you use?
Ultraspire. All Ultraspire packs.
I think that's the third or fourth person on the podcast that used Ultraspire.
They're good. They're good. They got some good stuff. They just came out with a hot pink. They made me a hot pink quiver for my poles. And then they just made a hot pink alpha vest that they're about to send to me. I'm so excited. They understand that pink is the best color. And they are starting to make more pink stuff. So it's so exciting.
It just needs some like cat ears, right?
Oh, yeah. Ultraspire cat ears. I love it.
That's right.
That is all the questions I have.
Oh, neat.
Well, perfect. That's not too. You got off easy today.
Yeah.
No super
No
personal
one
question.
asked to buy my socks or drink my bath water.
How much it cost to give you a foot rub?
Yeah.
Well, when you come back on the podcast, now you may get those the second time.
I hope I do.
Yeah, we definitely want to have you back on after your
Oh,
FKT.
yeah. Yeah.
And, we'll give you a little bit of time to heal up and do javelina and hopefully not talk about a cactus story in that. But we'll try to get you back on at the end of the year if we can get our schedule aligned.
Yeah, I
We'd
would
love to
love
have you
that.
back on.
I think people are definitely going to learn. Because to be honest, a lot of the East Coast runners don't know East Coast runners because a lot of the people, it's always West Coast. It's always that. And then now, like, your record shows that the East Coast runners can go out west,
Oh yeah,
can
absolutely.
perform, can be the top. So now, like, a lot of these East Coast runners are like, hey, she's here, like she's an East Coast girl. So like, the next time you come on, guarantee the questions are going to be a lot more, and they're more who you are. So
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. They'll be writing questions down as they're listening to this podcast.
Oh yeah.
Well, Tara, do you have any questions at all for us?
Oh, you put me on the spot.
That's right.
No, not right now.
It's funny. Some people are like, "Oh," and then others are like, "Yes, actually."
Pretty quick. Like,
yeah, I know. Sometimes
they've been thinking about it.
Sometimes they catch me and Matt off guard, and we're like, "Oh,
yeah,
I don't know." Well, Tara, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for being on the podcast, and we truly wish you the best on this AT attempt. And we want to run with you some in Tennessee. So just when you start this course, remember that we're going to be here waiting on you when you get here.
Just keep bugging me for that tracking information. I'm doing a lot at the moment, but just bug me and I'll get that to you.
You got it. If I don't have it by August, I will start messaging you every day.
Yes, do it. I do it, please.
It was kind of like me and Tara trying to schedule this podcast because it's been like a month and a half in the making. And what's funny is like she would text or message me, and then 3 days later I'd message her, and then 3 days later she'd message me, and it was just like it was just so casual. It was like, yeah, we'll get it at some point. It's fine.
We'll link up. It eventually happens. It just takes a while.
Ever since I saw your videos of the Bent McConnell, like, David, we're getting on the podcast. All right, we'll set it up. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you watched those. That was a fun series to make about the Bent McKay Trail because not a lot of people know about it. So that was a good one.
I was excited when I saw it because honestly, like you said, there's not many videos out there. And even when you go to look for podcasts about like them talking about it, it's not too many. So seeing the videos and when you're coming up to locations that I know, it's like, oh, there she is. She's right there in our backyard. So that was really cool to see all that. So that really got me interested. Then I started following you and seeing all the, how you went from doing that to really becoming like a really great runner. So it's cool to see. And I'm definitely looking forward to seeing your career continue.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too.
Well, you've definitely built an amazing history so far on Ultra Sign Up and just your results, and you're super talented. Just be honest, like you have a gift and you're sharing your gift in a good way, and you're inspiring people to be better and to push more. And like, I don't know if you realize how much of an inspiration you are to runners, but that's something that I hope you see and feel as you continue to progress in your career, because you're helping people get out there and do more stuff. So continue to do what you're doing and continue to share your story and continue to share the videos. And if you fall on a cactus, share that with us too, because we love we'll have some sympathy for you, but we love it. It's cool.
That's also another thing that I like about your posting is that you're sharing everything.
Oh yeah,
and it's entertaining as well as like like you show your goods and the beds.
Yeah.
So all
Oh,
that
yeah.
stuff is good. It's entertaining. It's fun.
Well, I'm glad you like it.
But Tara, thank you so much. And if you don't care, hang on just a minute. We're going to close the podcast, but we'll talk for just a second. So,
Yeah, sure.
but thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.